Welcome.
There we go. Now we're back.
Welcome to Duluth Conservative. Our little show here is to tell people in the Duluth area, Minnesota area, and the nation and international that there are conservatives in Duluth. We actually exist, and we will give you news items and let you think about them and give you an idea where to get at them. And I'll link this in the video. I'll put all our links in the video at the end. So, how's it going, Dave?
Still surviving. Still here in our beautiful, sunny, hot Duluth.
So in the Twin Cities this weekend, I guess it was like 90s.
Yeah.
And at my house, I had rolling fog at 55 degrees. So yeah, come on up to Duluth. You're going to love it.
Yeah, they were talking about a heat wave this weekend, and they keep going. I think it might make it to 80 this weekend. So
it might make it to 80. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I was hoping that would be the case. Sorry, I got some technical difficulties there.
Whatever they consider heat wave nowadays here in Duluth. So
yeah. Here we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Back.
Yep.
So pretty light week this week. I don't think we're going to be going to 2 hours like we did last week. But we'll go through some of our Duluth news first. I don't have any opening thoughts for this. So should we just drive right in?
Yep. Just drive right in there.
So the first thing I want to
not drive. Run in, not drive in.
How appropriate.
Yes.
Grandma's Marathon was this weekend. So we had a lot of people in Duluth. The funny thing is, if you didn't head downtown, you wouldn't have any idea that there was anything going on in the city. So if people who don't know, Duluth is a big city. It's very long and it's wide. And from landmass ways, I think are we the biggest city in the state?
Yeah, because I think we're like 39 miles in length from east Duluth to west Duluth.
Yeah.
And we're not that deep, only 10, 12 miles deep.
So surprisingly, you get thousands of people coming into the city and running a marathon in the morning. And honest to God, I wouldn't have known it if you wouldn't have told me it was happening at all.
Yeah, correct. I mean, unless you went down into Canal Park or down by the lake, you just wouldn't know.
Right.
And then Duluth has done their best at jacking up prices for that week, so no one wants to stay anymore. So good job.
Funny thing is, I think if you get a hotel, they make you rent it for like Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, 3 days. Yep.
Yeah, or they don't let you stay because they know what's going to happen is people would come down for the day and take off. So they're going to get their money. And they made a lot of money because they filled up this marathon now the last couple of years. For a while there, it was you could walk up and buy tickets enter into the race the day before. And they were filling up the half marathon, but the full marathon was not filling up. But now the full marathon is filling up pretty fast, actually.
Yeah, so if you want to run next year, they always open registration October 1st. And then, look on the Grandma's Marathon website, and they'll to get in for next year. Because next year is going to be a big year because it's the 50th year.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. So it's been hard to get in the last couple of years. So, yeah, this will be a big year here. And that's just the full marathon. The half marathon has not been going on that long, right?
Correct.
So this is the guy that won the full marathon. I'll put him up here. His name is Joel Raychow. And he made history in a couple different ways. He was the first person who won both the half marathon and the full marathon for Grandma's. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
The first time he ran the full marathon, pretty good. And he's from Minnesota. With a time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 58 seconds. Holy God, that's fast. For context, my best half marathon was just under 2 hours. So about 13 minutes faster than this guy. And that's it. And he did twice the distance.
Yeah, basically he's going twice as fast.
Yes. And he looks a lot better than I did at the end of that marathon because he can raise his arms up. I think I just went into the fetal position and cried for a while after that one.
Yeah, and considering even though it was cool out, the runners were complaining of the really, really thick air. So it was real humid the first half because the wind, even though the wind was coming off the lake, the first half they weren't getting that benefit from it. So they were complaining that it was a bad half marathon. Or the first half of it was pretty bad. So
Yeah. Well, so we'll go through some of the winners just to kind of give them shout-outs because all these things are pretty good.
yeah.
So Gary Bjorkenland half marathon for the men's. Murphy Smith. I just know that when you're speaking about somebody in a different that has a different name from a different country, you're supposed to do it in their accent. So I'm trying to do my best Irish accent for this. And, when you hear a Hispanic person talk about a Hispanic person's name, they'll always kick into that accent, right?
Right.
If they're talking about Nicaragua, they're doing the correct pronunciation for that language, but they intersperse it with English, American English, which is just odd. So Murphy Smith came in and he did the half marathon. He finished at 1 hour, 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Again, literally twice as fast as I can run.
Yeah.
That distance. That's crazy.
It's twice as fast as the average person that finished, because you look at the bell curve and it's at 2 hours. So he's twice as fast as the average.
A lot of people try to break the 2 hour mark. That's like the goal for most normal people.
Right.
Guys like this are like, that would be, I broke a leg and I ran it in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Let's see. He's 22 years old. That makes sense. We have a repeat. Annie Frisbee has won. That's pretty good. And a winning time of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 5 seconds. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
And that was not very much past him. He was like 7 minutes behind the number one male one. That's impressive. I mean, I usually don't see that, but that's 2 in a row. She's pretty dang fast.
Yeah.
Wheelchair Louis Francisco, and I'm not even going to try to butcher his last name. 1 hour, 26 minutes, 2 seconds. And that's the full marathon. So he looks like he might be just in a little bit of shape based on this picture. Jesus.
Yeah, that's flying.
Yeah. The women's marathon, Vanessa Cristina de Souza, 1 hour, 39 minutes, 55 seconds. She cruised too. That was very fast. The men's marathon, and then the women's for the full marathon, Lillian Shabi, 2 hours, 25 minutes, 14 seconds. Still, holy cow, that's fast.
That's flying, yeah.
So that was the half marathon. Did you ever get a chance to go down and see it?
Yeah, it was. I had a record 12 people that I knew in the full marathon, and one person ran the half marathon. They all finished. They all survived. It was, everyone complained about the first half of the full marathon being over humid, but they all finished. So no personal records, no personal bests, but most of the time it's just about finishing anyways. So
that's all it's ever been for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that's the way mine is. If I can survive and walk the next day, that's a bonus for me. So
it's funny because when I did the half marathons, I ran most of them with you. And it was funny because sometimes I get done with the half marathon and I had to just sleep. I mean, I would crash for hours. And then other times I would get done and it was like no big deal. And I don't know what the difference was in those two scenarios, but it was incredible. Once, Don and I went up to Bulldog Pizza and we just got I got this massive burger and this dessert and everything. I was eating like a horse. I felt great. And then after a couple of the monster dashes, I remember once we were supposed to meet you and some of your buddies at a place. And I'm like, nope, get me home. And I literally walked into my room and flop on the bed, and I was there for a couple hours.
Yeah, but that was the first one, and it was only like 10 degrees out. So
that was brutal. That was
Yeah.
the one that had the 5K, a 10 mile,
10 mile, yeah,
and a half marathon.
correct.
And I was like, why would you do a 10 mile if, 13 miles, 13.1 is a half marathon? Why would you do the 10 mile? And then we figured it out because at the end of the 10 miles and the beginning of the 11th mile was a hill, and that was a brutal hill.
Yeah, mile 11 hill. Yep, definitely. That was horrible. But we ran it every year we ran it. So
we did it. It was not easy. All right. Anything else for the grandmas?
No, like I said, it was going to be 50th for the full next year. So if you're planning on running in the full next year, sign up on October 1st. Yeah. Make sure, otherwise you're not going to get in. So,
and that's just the general rule for the half too. I think that thing fills up in 3 or 4 days, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to run the half, definitely get on there October 1st. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's when you got to do it for the half.
Yeah,
that will fill up in 1 day, 2 days max. So that's just the way it is. So,
in other Duluth news,
yep.
The school has approved a budget. Now, I don't know if you've read about the budget at all, but and I haven't been able to get in to actually see the budget yet, but there's a lot of trepidation from the members. One person voted against it. The rest of them voted for it. But it sounds like even the people that voted for it were not too happy about it because they had to cut a lot of stuff. So I was reading the article about it a little bit, and it's a little much when they're talking about this. Here's a quote from one of the board members. "It's really hard to look my own child in the eyes at home right now, to be honest. It would have been really difficult for us to afford music lessons as well, and he was able to get those lessons. I'll be voting to approve the budget, but it's not a happy vote." And there was some cutouts in that, so it wasn't her full quote. But it's a little dramatic. This is a budget. You could be, unhappy about the budget, but let's pull back some of the emotion. I can't look at my child in the eyes. Just take it easy a little bit, okay?
And instead of using facts and stuff, they're back to the emotions and to prove anything. So
I liked going into music programs. I benefit from it. Everybody I know does. They're great to have, but to be honest, kids need to be able to read. They need to be able to write. They need to be able to do math. And if they can't do that, everything else is superfluous. It's not. So it's great. Music programs are great. They're very good for kids. It's good to have people in bands. I support that fully, but it can't be at the cost of having enough money to spend on people being able to read. So arts and the music isn't the first thing I'd look to cut, but it's up there. It's got to be something you got to look at. And if there's lessons that have to be involved, either the kids don't take lessons or they have private lessons, and the parents pay for it.
And they like to use the word cuts very poorly because if they don't, they consider a cut if everyone else doesn't get a huge bonus. So they consider that a cut. So to fully understand the budget, you need to actually pull the whole budget, look at it, and see what actually happened. So,
well, it says right here, and this is incredible to me. The budget includes more than $186 million in revenue for the district's general fund. Primary operating budget used to pay for salaries, benefits, and day-to-day operations. It's a $15 million increase over last year's general fund revenue. So we've talked about this before, and I've said, what happened with, I remember the U of M once. They put in a budget increase. They put in a budget to the state, and they wanted a 20% increase. And the state came back and said, we can't give you a 20% increase, but we'll give you a 10% increase. And to that, the school went to the paper, and the paper was advertising as a budget cut. You're slashing our budgets. When in fact they got an increase, it was a slash to their budget.
Right. And that's just, it's basically lying.
It's lying with statistics.
Yeah, it's the number 3 lie. So with statistics, so
right. In other news, I hate that you did this to me, Dave. I hate the next article. I'll show it. I don't like it.
Yeah, when we think about, I suppose this should have been on international news, because I heard this group it's an international group. They probably are going to knock Trump off the pedestal for having a peace prize for nominations, but they went to the Rose Garden and they did their thing, and so this is how. Don't play the whole thing. Just give them.
No. You get to listen to the whole thing again. And this looks like the group that is protesting outside of Pete Stauber's office. This looks like the group that I've seen protesting everywhere. So at least they're getting around here. So
it's an international group, if you can believe that, throughout every country.
Really?
I was amazed to find how large they are in the world. But I want you to pay particular attention to this, that they don't show the crowd.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
He's right back here.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Here we go. You asked for it. You got it.
The hearts of women know that war's a game that no one wins. We won't be taken in by all the lies and all the spins. Now's the time to come together on this grand Memorial Day and demand a better way. No.
I hope we don't get into copyright laws there.
Yeah, I mean John Mayer should give his Grammys to these people instead of Alicia, someone else. So
okay, we're not done yet.
Nope.
Go on.
Oh, more wars upon this planet. War's a crime and it's a racket. We must learn to live together as we reap what we have sown. One human family strong. Woo!
So the Raging Grandmas were started in Canada, and they worked there throughout the whole world. And this is the local group. And
really,
yeah,
are they all singing at the same time, like throughout "We Are the World" or "Hands Across America"?
Yeah, I don't know. I was just amazed that it was that large of a group. And if you go to their website, they have a local address, email address where you can contact them and have them book their gigs or whatever they're doing.
Well,
I don't know what else songs that buy their albums. Maybe, I don't know.
I think the best part is I just made references to two things that you have to be at least 50 years old to understand: Hands Across America and "We Are the World."
Right.
Hey, wait. Maybe I'm in this group, but I just don't remember.
Yeah, exactly.
So the funny thing is, no, I don't disagree with their sentiment. I don't want a war. We don't want any wars. Wars are stupid and they cost us a lot of money and blood and people. At the same time, I go about it a different way, I guess. That's me. I don't want to disparage these guys. They're out there doing something, at least, I guess.
Yeah, they're bringing attention to it, and to whatever they're bringing attention to, they're, at least they're getting together and getting out of the house. And I suppose we could have put it in health and fitness too, because they're getting out of the house. So.
It's true. It's true. Okay. So more Duluth news, I think, is our last item. It's the nurses have voted to approve of a strike.
Correct.
So it doesn't mean they're going to strike, but they've approved for doing a strike if they want to, right?
Correct.
And so Dave, as inquisitive as he is, his mindful eye on detail, found a little something that we thought was kind of interesting. So that I will share it right now. So they showed in the media, they showed these boxes where they're going to go vote. And he noticed that photo IDs are required to vote. What a novel concept. You have to, let's see, I can't really read it, but it's required ID, federal ID or state ID. So
Yep.
I guess there are situations where you have to show an ID to actually show that you're legally able to vote for a thing. So to show that you're part of the union, it's a novel concept that might catch on. Maybe we should try to do that for ourselves.
Yeah, maybe a statewide election would make it more fair if we showed a photo ID for the whole election to make sure that people that are in Minnesota and registered to vote and legally can vote are able to vote, and just those people.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
What a concept.
Right. And you go start looking at the campaign funds for how much the unions and the Democrats, pay each other off, and the unions are for photo ID.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Democrats, they should be pushing. Yeah, they should be pushing photo ID for the rest of to make the rest of the voting safe.
Oh, and just for people that aren't in Duluth right now, the foghorn's going off on the pier. Oh, what a glorious summer day it is.
Yeah, I didn't notice coming down that we had any fog, but when the foghorn goes off,
you can hear it, right?
Yeah, I can hear it.
We'll move on. I just got a text, by the way. My grandson can recognize me on this. So, hey, buddy. I'm not saying his name, but I'll say, hey, buddy. All right, Minnesota legislature. I was pretty sparse on this, and you found something. So these are the new laws taking effect coming July 1st. So some things actually did pass this session, right? They had that one day, and they got this thing going.
Yep.
Cannabis tax is increasing 50%. Once they get a little tax, they bite into it, and then that's what they want, right? So that's going up from 10% to 15%, highest in the country. So what they're going to do is tax it to the point where they'll just start doing it illegally, which I don't understand how it's legal anyway. If you're just going to let it happen, decriminalize it, but don't tax it.
Right.
They'll find a way to make money out of it.
And even in Colorado, one of the first states to legalize cannabis, noticed that there was not a increase or a decrease in illegal marijuana use.
Yeah.
So people were still buying it illegal because of high taxes and because of high regulation.
Well, I think they've got some BS thing with the licensing too, where it has to go to a certain percentage of people. I mean, there's kind of a quota system. Yeah. Which we're going to talk about a little bit about how that's a problem in Minnesota coming up pretty soon. Let's see what else. Young boaters will need a permit to operate watercraft. So tell me about that.
Yeah, if you're 21 and under, you're going to have to take an online course, which I was amazed. It said 3 to 4 hour course online with a test. You have to pay $40, $39.95 to take this test. If you pass the test, you can print a certificate of operators, so you can operate your boat legally immediately, and then you're going to get a one in the mail that will supersede that. But in 2028, July 1st, 2028, this is going to be a requirement for every single boater in Minnesota, no matter what your age. Yes.
You're kidding me.
So correct that. I thought I linked an article, but if you check that article, it says in 3 years, 2028, everyone is required to. So
they cannot
so there's
do it enough. They just, every legislation, they got to put a rule in place. They've got to put a regulation in place. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. So basically, a million boaters times $40. Everyone has to take an online course.
Yeah.
Well, they just raised $40 million just like that for basically nothing. So.
Well, then they can offset some of our property taxes, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's see, another new law will be allow lane splitting for motorcycles. So that means that a motorcycle can pass another vehicle in the same direction in the same traffic lane, but at no more than 25 miles per hour and no more than 15 miles an hour over the speed limit in traffic. And no more than 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. Oh, the speed of traffic in the traffic.
Speed of traffic, yeah.
I'm sorry.
So basically, the motorcycle can't be going over 25 miles an hour. So for them to pass, the car has got to be going under 10 miles an hour.
Right. Okay.
So it's not at highway speeds. It's only in stop and go traffic that a motorcycle can pass. But a motorcycle can also pass if you're waiting for a stoplight. So you pull up to a stoplight and a motorcycle can come and park at your left front and exceed and then take off when the light changes.
Yeah.
So, you motorcyclists, get your life insurance out and, and car drivers, make sure you're paying attention because this is going to get screwed up very quickly. And there's going to be a lot of injured people because of it. But
I've honestly seen this a few times. I didn't know if it was legal or not. But in the Twin Cities, I had this happen quite a bit.
Yeah, it wasn't legal, but when I was working in San Francisco, it was pretty common. And I know because I wasn't used to it that I probably almost killed a few people because of it, because I didn't think of them as passing in a slow situation. But
yeah, I mean, it's a very, very dangerous thing because not everybody has their head on a swivel like that to realize it's happening, and they get frustrated. They want to get out of the lane. They hit the turn lane, and all of a sudden they've killed somebody.
Right.
I think this would be completely dangerous, but they make you wear helmets, so it must be okay.
Well, they don't, but anyways.
Oh, that's right. We don't have that law in Minnesota.
No,
yet,
not in Minnesota. No.
Oh well. Yeah. What are we doing here?
But one of the laws that was fixed was the PFAS laws, for forever chemicals and lead and stuff, and that's where the Republicans were able to get the key law switched.
Yeah. So they were going to make every key that we have illegal.
Correct.
Because that is material they don't like in it.
So
all right.
At least we got something out of it. Is our keys aren't illegal, and we can't go to jail because we have keys on us.
Well, thank goodness. Now the funny thing is, I don't have a key on me anymore. But I do have house keys. But my truck that I just bought doesn't have a key that I have to put into it. Just put a fob in my pocket. Wonder if there's any illegal material there. All right, that's Minnesota legislation. So since we were so light, I thought I'd add to my list of Sean's bills. These are the bills I would have tried to pass if I was in the House, if I'd have won the election. And I'm going to go through and speed through all of them and then add the new one at the end. So I won't go into descriptions for them, but number one, punish businesses who employ illegal aliens. This is getting less and less of a problem lately, I noticed, by the way.
Which is good.
Apparently, we've had the first time in 50 years, less people coming into the country than leaving. So we're at a negative migration for the first time in 50 years.
That's good.
I would try to get an AI center in or around Duluth. I would go and try to find manufacturing incentives and work with city reps to figure out what we could do to get manufacturing in the city or around the area. Make it illegal for dual citizens to hold public office. And boy, this is getting bigger and bigger as we go.
Yeah.
Not only should we not have dual citizens, but I don't think anybody that is foreign born should hold an office or be a judge in this country anymore. It's showing how bad it is lately. And we'll talk about New York in just a little bit.
Right.
Remove any kind of geoengineering, put a stand your ground law in place. Make sure private equity companies are not owning things like public utility services or hospitals, I would say at this point. Figure out a way to freeze property taxes, eliminate property taxes for seniors, or just eliminate property taxes altogether. Term limits for all levels of government. Start figuring out how we're going to tax the electric vehicles as much as we do the gas-powered vehicles, because they have 3 times as much wear and tear on our road systems because they're so much heavier.
Yep.
Figure out how to license the bikes and get money from them to pay for the bike lanes that are going to be built. Because if the cars can't use them, they shouldn't have to be paying for them by themselves.
Right.
Stop and revoke any Minnesota driver's license for illegal aliens, which may be helped by the federal government now. Require a valid state ID to vote in elections. Get a voucher program for private education expenses. Ban gender alterations or medications for people under the age of 18 and not have to pay for it by the state. I'm going to add that.
Yeah.
If you want to do it after you're 18, have at it. Pay for it yourself.
Pay for it yourself. It's an elective surgery.
Exactly. And the last one that I'm going to add now is this. I'm adding this one because I saw another state did it. The WEF, WHO, and NATO have no jurisdiction in Minnesota. I don't think that's an enforceable one necessarily because that has to do with the federal government, but
Correct.
it would be good to make that statement. And so those are my 16 ideas for bills I was going to have. I added the last one. If you have comments about that, please let me know. I'd like to see it. I'd like to know what people think about that. And that's what I'm going to be running on this next year when I run for Minnesota House. All right.
Did you know that the Charles Schwab stepped down from WEF?
Klaus Schwab?
Yeah, Klaus Schwab steps down from Globalist Bodies Board.
Thank God.
So we don't know if, is it, keep your enemies close? Is it better to have him in so we can keep an eye on him? Or
from what I heard, Klaus was getting out before the posse showed up. He'd had a lot of expenses and a lot of things he was doing that they were going to investigate him on. So I think he's getting out. But he's like, what? He's like 80 years old, I think. So
right.
Why is he still doing it?
And they were going to investigate him for some sort of sexual assault problem too. So, maybe he will just disappear. Hopefully he disappears and we don't have to worry about the WF anymore. So,
get rid of Soros, get rid of WF. Soros figured it out. He decided to, instead of going after the top jobs, he started funding the lower level jobs, city council, school boards, and then working up to the state level and then to the federal government. And the havoc that has wreaked on this country is, it's eye-opening to see just how bad it can be. You go look at Minneapolis. You want to see a city council that's off the rails? That's Minneapolis. You want to see a government that's off the rails? That's Minnesota. At least we're starting to claw back from that. Duluth hasn't had the problem yet, but there's hints of it. There's shades of it in some of the city council members, but there's other ones that offset it. But look at the mayor that they're trying to get into New York, the Democratic primary candidate, and we're going to talk about this in national news. He's only been a citizen for 7 years, and he's a devout communist. He's going to take that city down into the dumpster.
Yeah, I don't know. I know he was endorsed by AOC and Bernie Sanders. So does that make him a socialist? Does it make him he's like a Muslim fundamentalist, basically.
Yes.
And he was interested in Sharia law and a bunch of other things, but we'll get to that later in the podcast. Yeah.
But talking about dumpster fires, we have something in Walt's news. You added.
Yeah. It basically shows it was only like a 4-point drop from 53 to 49% approval rating of Tim Walz, and that just came out recently this last week. But 49% in a heavily Democratic state. So that means even the Democrats don't want him in public office anymore.
I think so. The national election really pointed out to people just how bad he is. This is stuff that we talked about for years, and nobody seemed to understand it until he got into the national stage and he got exposed. And thank God that happened. And that's one of the reasons we do this podcast, is to expose people to this kind of stuff. If they want to look at it and investigate it themselves, at least we'll give them the nugget they can go on, try to figure out what this is. But went from 53 to 49. Good.
So, you drop below 49, below 50%. That means that more people want somebody else in. That means the governorship election for next year, now it's open because he doesn't have enough support to get the votes. So
I sincerely hope there's a qualified conservative candidate that comes forward.
Yes, exactly.
And we talked about one of the candidates last week. I don't want to talk about one guy all the time. We'll see who shakes out in the primaries, and then we'll see how they are.
Right.
We've had problems in the past where the people that are the candidates are the Mitt Romneys, the McCain.
Rhinos. Yeah.
I wouldn't even call them rhinos. They're just not
weak.
They're weak. They're weak. And we don't need that. We don't need that in Minnesota because we got a big ship to steer here. And Walz has been driving it into the iceberg for a couple of years now.
Yeah, not fierce like Walz.
I think of Katy Perry when you do that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So let's move on to Minnesota State news. I love this picture. It's a serious matter, and I'm not trying to make a joke of it. Democratic donor and lobbyist arrested for allegedly threatening to shoot people at the Minnesota State Capitol. The reason I'm chuckling is this picture looks like a man who's finally figured out what he did.
Right. Like you mean it's wrong to do that?
Wait, to be honest, I wouldn't have done it if I thought I was going to get caught.
Right. Yeah.
So this lobbyist, Democratic donor, and again, this isn't the Democrats' fault. I will blame the rhetoric, but they don't have anything to do with this guy. But he wants to shoot somebody up, shoot somebody's face off.
Yep.
Don't get this upset about politics, boys and girls. It's not that. I mean, it's very important, but at the same time, it's not worth trying to take care of by shooting people or killing them. And we've had enough of that in our lifetimes now with what happened last week or 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. And so, if the federals get his hands on him, that'll be the death penalty. So if you want yourself dead, then that's an easy way to do it.
Are feeding our future, the $250 million scam that was brought onto the taxpayers of Minnesota.
Yep.
They've got a fourth defendant pled guilty and this wasn't about the feeding our future scam. This was about the bribery they tried to do to the jurors.
Oof.
So I'm going to grab this and show it. Patrick O'Hooley. Oh wait, no, that's Abdiziz Farah. Somebody's going to yell at me for how I pronounce this thing. And I'm not making jokes. I don't know how to say these things. Pleaded guilty this week to one count of bribery of a juror. So my understanding was, and I haven't read this article, is somebody got up, went to their front door, and they had a sack of cash sitting out there for them to do the right thing. And so my understanding is they brought that sack of cash to law and said, look, somebody's trying to bribe me. And they said, okay, you're out of this jury. I thought you got kicked out for reporting it.
Yeah, you're kicked out for being honest. That's
I guess. So he's pled guilty to it. But yeah, this is $250 million in fraud that happened under Governor Walz through the Department of Education was overseeing this. Yeah. And I've yet to see a Department of Education person in these orange jumpsuits. And I'd like to see that.
Right.
So good job. Well, good job for the state for actually coming down and taking care of some of these people. I want to see some of the upper people getting it.
Yeah, some of the politicians or some of the higher ups need to go. That's the only time you're ever gonna. That's the only time you're ever gonna make a real difference. Is even with Doge, yeah, he saved $250 billion. We need some politicians to go to jail for doing that. So
to go to jail, but they also need to codify that. They need to pass laws to take care of it. So Doge can only make the recommendations. They can't actually do the cuts. But we have to get these people in the office that actually take it seriously that this is our money and you got to give it back.
Right.
And stop spending it so horribly. And just for another little note on Minnesota news, Keith Ellison must be happy. He gets to fight the Department of Justice again. I mean, he's been going after him with lawsuits galore. So now he gets to actually do it. You know, they're coming after him. So the Department of Justice is suing Minnesota for offering free and reduced tuition to illegal aliens. These are people that are citizens of other countries coming in here and getting freebies off our backs that our kids aren't even getting. And I'm not saying we should be giving free tuition to everybody. I'm saying that we absolutely should be not giving anything to illegal aliens in this country. You can go back to your country that you're a citizen of and go to school there. It's not our job to educate you, to pay for you. And I would really like to get past this time in history, and it seems like we are, of taking care of everybody but us.
Correct.
You know, we are not the world's nanny. We are not the ones that have to take care of everybody. And we should be, if you're taking care of anybody, take care of your own first before you start looking outside. And when you do start looking outside, start looking at your own money, not trying to use everybody else's money to pay for your thoughts of what we should do for the world.
Right. And to me, I thought the most interesting part was, you know, Ellison has sued the federal government 23 times for, you know, not following the rules. But this is just a blatant racist, un-American policy that he should have stopped the, you know, walls in the legislature from passing. That's his job, to stop illegal laws, and it's blatantly illegal. And he should have stopped it.
It's a Minnesota law. That's his job.
Yes, and and he should be against that completely. He should have put a stop to that right from the start. You know, and you and I are still working on the tiered, you know, the 5-tier justice system in Minnesota, and this is number one. This is the number one, where you don't, you know, you can do anything you want because the person in charge is going to ignore it completely. So there is no one, you know, the person that got elected to handle the laws isn't even following the laws. Therefore, you know, just keep piling on the illegal laws because no one's going to stop it.
Right.
You know, we got to get rid of Ellison too, because he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Absolutely not. He's going against the federal government as opposed to taking care of state business.
Yeah, he's not doing his job. Clearly.
All right. Well, hey, we're doing pretty good tonight. 43 minutes and we're already getting to national news.
Yep.
These are no particular order, so I apologize. I know there's some bigger things. So maybe I'll talk about, for national news, we'll talk first about the bombing of Iran. Obviously, you know, 2 guys in Duluth, Minnesota have a lot to say about this. This is definitely, people are like, what are you saying? E.F. Hutton kind of stuff. But, you know, we were talking about it last week, and I was saying, look, I don't want to get into a war, and we're not in a war. That's good. It almost seems to me that this bombing was done to take away Israel's gasoline for going after Iran anymore, because they've taken care of the problem that Israel said was the problem.
Yeah.
So I don't like the fact that we had to go and clean up their mess. They started this fight, and I know that Trump is not happy with them for starting this fight, but he put an end to it pretty quick. And I saw a news conference he was talking about it. He goes, yeah, it's like a couple kids that always fight. You let them fight for a couple minutes and you step in and take care of it. Exactly what happened. So, I mean, with 0 casualties, 0 American casualties, very low casualties on the Iranian side, you don't want people to be dying anywhere. Right. I think it was a good strategic strike. I fully support that it was done. You know, this is way beyond my, you know, knowledge of what's going on in the world to make an opinion of whether you should do it or not do it before it happens. You can look in retrospect and see if it was a good idea. It seems to have been a pretty good plan. So hats off to them.
Yeah, and the conversations I've had since the war started was about how it's going to increase gas prices dramatically. Mm-hmm. And like you just said, it was strategic against the nuclear facilities that had 0 to do with the oil production. Right. Ever since Trump got in office, he turned the pumps back on. America is now a exporter of oil, not an importer of oil. We don't rely on their plus, like you said, strategic. We didn't touch their oil fields, which was it's Iran's only source of money. Therefore, we still didn't touch their source of revenue.
We didn't cripple them.
We didn't cripple them. Therefore, as far as your gas prices goes, zero changes. It's not going to affect anything because we didn't change any oil production in the U.S., in Iran, or anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was very strategic, like you said. So that will be fine. You know, the oil prices won't change much.
And it's interesting too, because I heard a lot of, and this isn't mine, this is something I heard, but there was a lot of people that were saying, you know, you bomb Iran, you risk triggering these sleeper cells that are in the United States now. They're going to come out and attack you.
Yep.
And you're like, you dumb plank of wood. You're the reason, your party is the reason they're in here in the first place. You understand that
right.
Just ticking people off isn't a reason not to do something either. And that's a horrible way to live your life, because then you're just, you are their hostage.
Yeah.
You know, if you do something, I'm going to do something. Well, we'll let you just do anything you want, especially when it comes down to giving an Iranian state a nuclear weapon, which apparently they've been on the precipice of having built for the last freaking 30 years.
Right.
You know, it seems to be the ongoing theme as well. But, you know, just talking about the sleeper cells being activated in case we did this and that you can't do anything, that's just a ridiculous notion. And I hope people see through that. And also the coverage of this, what we talked about, CNN and Trump and Hegseth, and these guys are pointing it out. You've got to find, apparently CNN, you've got to find something wrong with it. That's your job. That's your lifeblood. You have to find what's wrong with what you're doing, because it's got to be bad for Trump, no matter what happens. You can cure cancer, and you're talking about putting doctors out of work because he's cured cancer. You know, the sky gets blue and it's not good enough. My God, the skin cancer. And if it rains, my God, we're going to die of, floods. Everything is Trump's fault. And CNN has this in it. They don't have to be proponents of it. They don't have to be propagandists of it. If they could just try to be neutral about it and report what happened and not try to find a reason to be mad about it, that would be great.
Right. And, we discussed on offline the protests supporting Iran.
Yeah.
It's like the day after you're supporting a terrorist regime. No, it's all about, Orange man bad. We hate Trump, and no matter what he does, we're going to protest him. We're going to have a march.
We need to invest in a flag company, because they had the gay pride flag, they had Ukrainian flag, you got the Iranian flag, they got a Mexican flag, and they've been flying those for the last 4 months. If we could just start a flag company, man, we could make a lot of money if we just figure out what's your next outrage?
Yeah.
What happened to Ukraine anyway? What happened? All I saw was Zelensky finally found his suit to wear to go bend a knee to try to find more money from Trump. And I don't know if you saw it, the UK, what is that? The EU, European Union. Did you see this when the guy was talking to Trump? And he's like, and Trump was talking about Iran, and and the guy's like, well, like Daddy came home and took care of business. I'm like, you call him Daddy now? Wow. Things are changing. I'll tell you that. And it's for the better, because I feel like we were in a really low point the last couple of years. And I think we were in danger the last couple of years. And finally, things are looking better. The big thing is, who's coming up after Trump? Now I'm watching a lot about Vance, and I'm watching a lot about Hegseth. Hegseth, I think, is doing an extremely good job. But Vance is fun to watch, and I like him if he is the guy who he says he is, because I've only known about him for about a year now. He seems to be pretty good. So hopefully he is the guy who says. But then I look at Ted Cruz. Cruz, every once in a while, like, Cruz has got together. And then he doesn't. He's about as fake as you can get.
Yeah, I mean, we got Trump. We have peace through strength. He dropped 6 bombs, and now there's peace. So
12-day war done.
Yep.
Well, going back in time a little bit, let's talk about our previous president. This picture just kind of says it all to me anyway. Democrats are boycotting the hearings on Biden's mental fitness. So they covered it up for years. We talked about it for years. It's the news is coming out as if this was something that just occurred to them. My God, we were wrong. He wasn't as sharp as they said he was. Well, we've been telling you that we told you that the year before he got elected, and then through the 4 years he was president. And imagine what would be the case right now if he was in charge still. My God, I don't even know what would be going on in the Middle East. So they're boycotting this because they don't want to go through and say just how much they hid for him and how much the auto pen was. We don't know who did the auto pen, you know?
Yeah, I just seen an article that they found one female that's owning up to running the auto pen, that she didn't know who was okaying all these things that she was signing. So at least they're starting the investigation to find out what's going on, who was using that pen to sign the stuff. And, so then the next question would be, what did he actually sign? Did he know about, and which are completely illegal laws? Or
prediction. No study is going to come out until after he dies.
Yeah, probably.
They're not going to put him in jail. They're not going to prosecute him.
They won't do it him, but maybe they'll prosecute the people that were illegally using the auto pen.
Yeah.
To get their own agenda through.
I'm guessing nothing's coming out of this.
No, that would be my prediction.
Sternly worded letter, and then people are going to say, you shouldn't do that anymore. We can't allow that anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, Biden was like held up. Like he was like when you watch a Schwarzenegger movie, and in the old days when he was cool, and somebody starts shooting at him, he grabbed somebody and put him in front, and they would get riddled with bullets. That was Biden in his presidency. That's what they did. That's what the Democrats did to him, or whoever did it to him. I don't even know if they were Democrats. But here's an interesting article. Speaking of the Democrats, and I will blame the Democrats on this, not the rank and file, but the leadership is they had a vote. And it was a vote to condemn the violent anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles. Now, this is what you call a nothing vote. It doesn't really do anything. This is just meant to put your opinions up on paper so people can see it, because it doesn't really do anything. It's a nothing burger.
Right.
Not one Democrat voted to condemn that violence. And that should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah, last week we had a whole episode or segment on the left being violent. So This is right along the same lines.
Let's see. So yeah, and I don't really like the political theater that they do. Like we were talking about it a little bit about the excuse me one second. We were talking about the congressional hearings.
Yeah.
They're just theater. I mean, it's 5 minutes of somebody just ragging on you, giving you yes, no questions, and then you have to decide whether you're going to answer them or not, yes or no, and you're probably not. So it's just a way for them to get press time. They should just do a YouTube channel. It's so much cheaper, and it's so much more interesting. Look at us.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to play a video here. And so this guy is describing the difference between white women who are liberals and who are conservatives. And this is what he's saying. It's not me. I'm just going to put it on here, though. And here goes. And tell me if you can hear it.
Know the difference between a white liberal and a white conservative. See, white liberals, they try to fight for us, meaning they try to think that we're inferior and they think they're superior. They think we're brainless idiots. They think we're stupid, like we don't know how to think for ourselves. And then they get mad when we have a different political view than they do. So now they feel like they got to fight for us even more to try to get us back on the Democratic plantation. That's a white liberal. a white conservative or a patriot, whatever you want to call them, they're not going to fight for us, but they will fight beside us. They'll fight. They'll stand side by side with us. You want to know why? Because they don't see us as their inferiors. They see us as a neighbor. They see us as a human being. They see us as Americans. That's the difference between a white liberal and a white conservative.
That's what we've been talking about, and I couldn't agree more. Actually, it's really, really insulting to think that people can't take care of themselves, and you have to speak for them. You need to let these are just regular people, so just let them fight their own fights or not, and don't assume what they want. It's crazy, and that wasn't always the case, but it seems to have gotten much more apparent the last couple of years. So it's a kind of a, what do they call it? A latent racism. You think other people, you need to stand up for them. They're just not able to do it. And I think that's a really insulting thing. So I hope that stops.
Yeah, that's the Democrats used to be for the working party, and now they're elitists trying to organize people, is what it boils down to. Separate into groups and control each group.
Well, then if you can separate people into groups, you can have infighting. So you're worried about things that you're not worried about what they're actually doing. You're worried about other stuff. And that's one of the things that just infuriates me about this immigration problem that we're running into now is we're going to be spending years fixing a problem that should never have happened in the first place. And think of what we could have been at, where we could have been if we didn't have to work on this.
Right.
It's like walking up, buying a brand new house, and somebody rams their truck into the front door. So you're going to be spending your time fixing the front door instead of fixing what you wanted to in the house.
Right.
We have more national news, and I will share this. AOC, which I used to think she was one of the dumbest members of the Democratic Party. But man, they're making it hard for me to say that because we got such other competition. But here she is escorting a pro-Hamas supporter out of ICE custody. And I know there should be no sound on this, but that's fine. This is supposed to be a representative of the United States. She's supposed to represent the Bronx? What does she have to do? What is she doing here? So again, I say, AOC, you're not the brightest bulb, but man, you are not the stupidest person in the Democratic Party by far. She's not even I don't think she's bottom 5, which is scary.
Well, she's very good at marketing herself because she used to be a nobody bartender, and now she's, her name over most of the people, most of the Democrats in the House, because she knows how to get in front of a camera. And so there's a camera there. She's, so as soon as she's out of office, you can find her on OnlyFans because there's a camera for her.
I just threw up on my mouth a little bit.
Exactly.
And what's the ramifications of letting these guys out? Well, there was a guy that was doing pro-Hamas things at campuses, and he was ordered to be released. He was in custody for some reason. He's already back in New York City. Now he's got private security. I would play this, but it's freezing up on me. He's got private security now, and he's out doing protests again because that's his job. That's what he does. He's here for a reason. That is cause chaos inside this country. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to show another X thing here. And I want you to notice something about this. And maybe this might be old. Oh, I'm sorry. It's gone now. So the link I had was a bunch of people. Oh, wait. I didn't copy right. Sorry. Here we go. So 1 second. Let me share this. And this is what you were talking about earlier.
There.
Ukrainian flags, Palestinian flags, Mexican flags, Iranian flags. They're never American flags. I mean, look at this. This is the United States, and they're protesting for Iran.
Yeah.
Yeesh. So get yourselves in order. Get your lives together. Figure out what country you want to be in, and then go to that country and be there. Because it's certainly not this country, apparently.
Yeah. If you want to protect Iran, then go to Iran.
Yeah, exactly.
You love it so much. No one's stopping you from moving. Just leave.
In fact, you don't even need papers. You can just go there, cross the border anytime. They just welcome you in, like everybody else, right? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wait. No, they don't do that, do they?
No, they have extremely high immigration laws, and so like North Korea has the death penalty for illegal immigration.
North Korea has shoot on sight.
What?
It's not. North Korea has shoot on sight.
Yeah. So, I don't know what Iran's is, but you're welcome to try it out, see how you do.
Right. And again, with national news, this is the new Democratic frontrunner, the Democratic primary winner in New York City. And he's been a citizen for 7 years. And like you were saying, so you see this in London, you see this in Scotland, you're seeing this all over the Western nations of Muslims getting in charge of big cities. And the first thing they do, and I'm not saying this is good or bad, but I'm saying this is what they do, is they will attract as many Muslims as they can into that city. And go look at London, go look at Paris, go look at Scotland, you'll see this. Now, whether you call that a racist thing or not, it's not a race. This is a religion. This is a religious thing. That is what they're called to do. It's like the Crusades the Christians used to do.
Yeah, so he's basically bringing in voters to vote for himself, so he'll always remain in power.
Well, so Eric Adams, the current mayor, I believe, is running again. Is he not? Is he running as an independent?
Yeah, he's running as an independent. He used to run as a Democrat because that's a Democrats only can win in New York. But he dropped out of the party. He's running as an independent. That's why this Zohan is the Democrat. So it'll be a Democrat versus a former Democrat, Eric Adams, as an independent. And then I couldn't find who was running as the Republican.
Oh yeah, that guy used to be. I think the guy used to be in that group that used to save people on subways.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
I believe that's him. So it'll be interesting to see what pans out of that. But if New York goes to that guy, game over, man.
That'll be the end of New York. Yep, definitely.
Here's something I don't know if you saw or not. I think you did.
I seen this
Alligator Alcatraz for captured migrants. So illegal aliens in this country. So the idea is, this isn't a new concept. They've always had this, where you have a prison out in the middle of the Everglades, and then you ship people there, and their incentive to try to escape is very low. So you keep them there, and then that leads to not having to have as much security, having to have as much, fencing around. It's one of those things where you put it in the middle of nowhere. Like if you put one in the Sahara Desert, you can get out. You probably won't live very long. I saw a woman just screeching about this, though. It was on X or TikTok or something, so it's not like I know the person, but she was so angry about this. But she was saying that you're putting immigrants there. No, you're not. You're putting illegal invaders in that. You're not putting immigrants. There is immigrants that I work with. I wouldn't want them to go there.
Yeah, people that have broken the law.
Yeah,
it is a prison without walls is basically what it is for people who have broken the law. Very simple.
Right.
It's not complicated.
And it's a very specific law about being in a place you're not supposed to be in.
Right.
So I came across this and this infuriated me. And I'm going to play this. This is the vice mayor of Cudahy, California. And now she's under federal investigation for this. But I'm going to share what she had to say.
I want to know where all the cholos are at in Los Angeles, 18th Street, Florencia. Where's the leadership at? Because you guys are all about territory, and this is 18th Street, and this is Florencia. You guys tag everything up, claiming hood. And now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you. It's everyone else who's not about the gang life that's out there protesting and speaking up. We're out there like fighting our turf, protecting our turf, protecting our people. And like, where you at? Bien calladitos, todos los chulitos. I'm like, dude, they're running amok all up in on your streets, and in your city. And Pete, when the big gang guns come in, nothing but like quiet, and we're out here, the regular ones that have never been jumped in, out here calling things out, trying to organize people, trying to do the thing. So don't be trying to claim no block, no nothing. If you're not showing up right now, trying to like help out and organize, I don't want to hear a peep out of you once they're gone, trying to claim that this is my block. This was not your block. You weren't even here helping out. So whoever's the leadership over there, just fucking get your members in order.
She is literally calling for gang members to go against the federal government in this video.
With their guns.
With their guns. And she's saying, well, if you don't do it, you're not tough. You know, you got some bad news for you, honey. Once they're gone and you stand up to them, they'll take care of you because you're the kind of person they like.
Right.
But we have to do a purge of these kind of people out of our government. We can't. This is no better than having a dual citizen or a citizen from another country running things. She's a vice mayor. She has got to go, and we've got to stop electing these people in office.
Yeah, how do they just keep getting elected when they show their ignorance? You know, they're proud of how ignorant they are.
Yeah.
Hey, let's do a TikTok video. So how stupid we are.
We have Minnesota legislators from Duluth saying this is stolen land. Well, how can you be part of a government? How can you consciously, in your good conscience, be part of a government that you think is invalid? Because it'd be an invalid government if it's on stolen land.
Correct.
Where's your conscience for that? How dare you run for an office of a party on a government that's laid on stolen land? You should be objecting to that. But nope, don't. And you know what? The people in the city will vote for her.
Right.
And that's the crazy part.
Yeah. People that don't belong in office are in office because no matter how dumb they are, people keep voting for them.
What was it? 93% reelection?
Yeah, that's what Adam Schwarzy was talking about. You get reelected just because
fantastic.
they're in office.
Once you get in, and then it's different in the state level, but then you get federal level, you're on the gravy train too. Every one of those guys is multimillionaires after they get in.
Right.
That's why we need term limits too.
That would solve so many problems.
So we got one more article, and then Dave pointed out I saw this guy trying to play this, and we'll just play a little bit of it. He wanted to play "Hey Joe" from Hendrix. Okay, I'm done. I can't play that anymore.
Well, we lost the sound on that one too. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. That's well, you're lucky for you because I had to hear it. So he was like, "Hey, Joe," it's horrible. It's out of tune, but he's on a Stevie Ray Vaughan guitar, and that's just insulting to Stevie. Stevie was such a good guitar player.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna I'll get the sound because I gotta play the clip with sound on the next one.
Yeah, it shows how amazing our election system is that he can, after saying something like this so stupid, it's that you can reelect him. It's just beyond, how great is this guy where you just continue to elect him.
All right, so tell me if you can hear this.
This is a island that at its widest.
So he's talking to an admiral about Guam, and he's talking about how narrow it is and how long it is. And it's only, not many miles wide, not very miles long. It's Guam. It's small. It's U.S. territory, and they're talking about putting a base on it. And his concern is having too many people on this base. So if I can get to it,
about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island, and I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
or you could just do simple multiplication.
Yep.
My fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Wait, let me just replay that.
Tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
This guy is barely holding it together. This guy, I can't believe he got reelected probably a couple times since then.
Right. Yeah, because this video is 10 years old. So, it could have gone easily 2 elections on how ignorant he is. And then he plays the guitar extremely poorly. And then, I don't know where do Democrats think that this is a good idea?
How can you get reelected after saying something so stupid? Now let's just watch the Admiral try to. He's smirking here. You could see it, but
the Guam population, I think, currently about 175,000, and again with 8,000 Marines and their families, it's an addition of about 25,000 more into the population.
The whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
My God. So when I say AOC is not the dumbest, this is why.
Yeah.
That and Jasmine Crockett. I don't know if I have any Jasmine Crockett bites. I was sending to you all week though, because I just can't believe she says something stupid and stupid. Do I have the math ain't mathin' quote from her?
No, I didn't see it on this week's.
Oh, that's a shame. So she was talking about Melania Trump, who speaks several languages, by the way, and is much smarter than Jasmine Crockett. And Jasmine Crockett's saying, she came on this certain type of visa, and that's for their geniuses and Olympic athletes. And, so she got in on that. That math ain't mathin'. I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah, there's nothing you can even say about it. It's so dumb.
Okay, let's move on to international news.
Yeah.
I told you it was going to be a quick week, so I don't have I'm not going to show this, but I saw that Mike Pence applauded the Iranian strike, and now I'm questioning everything about it.
Yeah.
As soon as did you see Lindsey Graham? He was salivating. He looked so happy with it. He looked like he could lick himself all over if he could. Just about this bombing. I mean, I've never seen such a warmonger in my life as Lindsey Graham. But when Mike Pence applauds something, like, I got to take another look at it. It could be wrong.
Right. And even AOC, she wanted to impeach Trump because of it. But then 100 Democrats sided with Trump. So that failed miserably quickly. So, that also makes you wonder, well, maybe we were wrong for bombing them. If the Democrats, of course, they think it's a war, and that's what they want, is they want a war. So
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They call it a war right away. Greta Thunberg was removed from Israel while trying to support the Palestinians. This is an old one. Did you add this one?
Yeah, I just added it one because it was the Israel called it a selfie yacht filled with celebrities who intended to use the conflict in the region to attract media attention. So it's like, yeah, you may be able to play that game here, but Netanyahu isn't going to play your games. So they scooped her up, threw her on a plane, and she's back in Sweden. So
I thought that was a great term, selfie yacht.
selfie
Perfect.
yacht. Yeah.
And
Just like with the singing, needed some humor.
this last article I've got, I saw today, and this is Scotland. The police in Scotland say that transgender suspects have the right to ask for a male officer to search one half of their body and a female officer to search the other half. And I just wanted to bring that up to show what it's like in other countries, because that is just so ridiculous. Such a waste of resources, such a waste of time. But hey, that's what we get nowadays. Wow,
So
let's move on to.
If we can get Conor McGregor elected head of Scotland, all that'll change. It'll go back to
It'll be very cool.
Yeah, old Scotland again.
I'd like to go to Scotland. I'd like to go to Ireland. I'm a little afraid to do it now.
Yeah, unless he's protecting me, I don't know how great it is to go into a lot of these European countries.
Right. All right, let's wrap it up with health and fitness. I don't have a lot to talk about. I've been pounded at work. I've been working 10, 12-hour days a lot. So it's been pretty hard, but I got a couple of runs, and we went to the gym last night and hit the weights a little bit. So that was good. How about you?
Yeah, the weather's been a little iffy, so I haven't been doing my cardio as much as outside cardio, but I've been hitting the gym because that's always the same temperature. So,
it has been good running weather. It is when it's 55, 65. It's pretty comfortable. I like running in hot weather myself, but I know a lot of people don't. So,
well, I did some cardio on Tuesday night, and I was amazed at the lack of mosquitoes, because I remember that's why I was going to the gym all the time, was because I couldn't do my outside walks because of the mosquitoes.
Right.
So this year, Tuesday night, there was no mosquitoes. So, as long as that works out.
Right.
But otherwise, I'll have to head to the gym and do my indoor cardio instead of outdoor cardio.
You're going to hate it. I missed some of these articles because I forgot to send them to myself, but we won't go into them. We'll just talk about one last thing in health and fitness is that the Sam's Club is getting rid of a bunch of ingredients from their Members Mark stuff. And that will be good.
Yeah.
And and the thing I didn't send myself was Jasmine Crockett's stuff. So maybe we'll do it next week. Math ain't mathing on that one this week. So I got nothing else. Dave, what are you doing? Got anything else?
We need Crockett up here so when we get to these tough names that she can teach you the accents, since she's good at changing accents every week based on where she is.
Absolutely.
She went to a private school and she speaks perfect English, but every time you see her, she speaks Southern gibberish.
Well, watch her campaign videos, and when she talked on the campaign versus when she got elected.
Yeah.
If that's not a bait and switch, I don't know what is. So.
It shows she's not a real person. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up for this week. Nice short week, and we'll see you next week on the Duluth Conservative. If you get a chance, please like and subscribe. It'd be great for us to have more views so you can get the word out to other people. If not, hey, that's fine too. Until next week, I'm Sean.
I'm Dave.
And that's Duluth Conservative for this week. See you next week.